Okay, today we're going to be solving linear equations with fractions. And again, it's nothing really new except we're going to be throwing fractions into the mix. Now, who of you likes fractions? Nobody? Well, I'll tell you what, if you're having trouble with fractions, I suggest that you go back to lesson 2 and go over the lesson on fractions because you're really going to find that information helpful as we go through linear equations with fractions. Now, the first thing we want to do with fractions is get rid of them. Don't you want to get rid of them? Yeah, everybody wants to get rid of them. And the way we get rid of them is with the lowest common denominator. That is, we're going to get rid of our denominator 4, 2, and 6. Now, how do we find our common denominator? Okay, we showed you how to do this in an earlier pre-algebra lesson, but let's walk through it again real quick. These are our denominators, 4, 6, and 2. And 4 equals 2 times 2. 2 cannot be simplified anymore. 6 can be broken down to 2 times 3. And let's look at all the numbers that we have used to break down our denominators. There are only 2. There's 2 and there's 3. Now, which of these numbers has the most number of 2's? That's right, 4 has 2 2's, 2 times 2. And 3's, which one has the most number? Well, there's only one 3. So let's circle that. Good, and our lowest common denominator is 2 times 2 times 3, which equals 12, and that's our LCD, our lowest common denominator. And we are going to multiply everything in our equation times 12. Now, before we do that, maybe I can explain the theory on that. Look, we're going to multiply the left-hand side of the equation by 12. And whatever we do to the left-hand side of the equation, we do to the right-hand side of the equation. Now, that's fair. We have an equal sign, and we multiplied everything on the left-hand side by 12, and we multiplied everything on the right-hand side by 12, so we're still equal. Now, to make this simpler to look at, we're going to apply the 12 to all of the numerators. And as you remember, before we multiply, we are going to reduce. Now, we cannot reduce 3 and 4, but we can reduce 12 and 4, can't we? 12 divided by 4, 3. And look, we've gotten rid of our denominator, which is what we were trying to do. And so now we have 3 times 3x. And let's come over to the next fraction. 7 over 2 cannot be reduced, but 12 over 2 certainly can. What's 12 over 2? It's 6. And now we have 6 times 7, correct? Incorrect. We have 6 times negative 7. Keep that in mind. These are starting to get a little messy, and they're going to get real messy when you're messing with fractions. Okay, so be careful your signs. Equals 5 over 6, that can't be reduced. Let's see, 12 6 can certainly be reduced to 2. And now we have 5 times 2 on the right-hand side. So what do we have? We have 3 times 3x minus 7 times 6 equals, there's no variable here, equals 5 times 2, and there's no variable there, and that's what our equation is now. Now 3 times 3 is 9, and so now we have 9x. Negative 7 times 6, or minus 7 times 6, is 42, and 5 times 2, 10. And now we have something that's pretty simple to deal with. 9x minus 42 equals 10. And we know that according to the systems that we've been using, we're going to get rid of the negative 42 first by adding 42. That's right. And did you forget something? Huh? Did you forget something? That's right. Whatever you do to the left-hand side, you have to do to the right-hand side. We're going to add positive 42 to both sides of the equation. Okay, let's bring that all down. We have 9x, negative 42 plus 42 is 0, so we're not going to bring that down. Bring down the equal sign and bring down the 42 and 10. That's right, now we have 52, 9x equals 52. And we know how to get rid of 9 times x. We know how to get rid of the 9. So 9x over 9 equals 52 over 9. 9 over 9 is 1. So x equals 52 over 9, and that cannot be reduced. So that is our answer. Now, did you see what we did? We got rid of our fractions, but at the end of the problem, we had a fraction again. And that's what we want to do. We want to cut all the messiness out of the middle, because that's where you get into trouble. So get rid of our fractions when we can. Obviously, for the answer, we can't get rid of a fraction. That's that 52 over 9 is in its simplest form. So we can't do anything about that, but that's fine. I mean, it didn't hurt too bad to put a 9 under that 52. And let's see what happens with a problem where we're mixing integers and fractions. So this is very similar to the equation that we just solved, except instead of having all fractions, we have an integer right here. So what are we going to do with that? Well, what we want to do when we have an equation with fractions, even if it's just one fraction, is to turn everything into a fraction. And that's all we have to do is put a line under the 2 and a 1 under the line. 2 over 1 is the same as 2. And now, since they're all fractions, we can deal with this equation like we did in the last problem. First thing we need is the lowest common denominator. And that would be 6. And I didn't walk you through that process. You should know how to find the lowest common denominator by now. And so 6 over 3 is 2, or 2 times 2x. And 6 over 1 is going to be 6. 6 over 2 is going to be 3, or 3 times 3x. And 6 over 6 is going to be 1, or 1 times 1. Now let's walk through everything now. 2 times 2x is 4x. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. 3 times 3x is 9x. And 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 4x minus 12 equals 9x plus 1. We have x's on both sides, so let's take the smaller x, that would be 4x, and bring it over here. That's right, subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. So subtract 4x or add negative 4x, whichever way you want to say that. It's the same result. And so 4x minus 4x, we're not going to bring anything down, but let's bring everything else down. Negative 12 plus 0 is negative 12. Bring the equal sign down. 9x minus 4x equals 5x. And 1 plus 0 is 1, so let's bring the 1 down. And now we have all of our x's over here, so let's bring our units over here. And we've eliminated all the units on this side. 1 minus 1 is 0. We're going to bring down the 5x. And negative 12 plus negative 1 is negative 13. And we have a coefficient for x. So when we have 5 times x, we are going to divide by 5. And that applies to both sides, of course. 5 over 5 leaves us with 1x. And that is our answer. X equals negative 13/5. And let's tidy that up a little bit. You're not really supposed to have a negative in the numerator. you're supposed to bring it out to the side. Yeah, just like that. And that is our answer. X equals negative 13/5. And whether you want to say negative 13/5 equals X or X equals negative 13/5, both are good. Now let's try a problem with parentheses. And what are we going to do with this? We're going to distribute this 3/2 to both of these numbers in the parentheses. 3/2 times the first term, 3/2 times the second term. And let's reduce the fractions. 5/6x plus 2/9 equals 3, and we need to turn that into a fraction, just like that. And we're going to have to find the lowest common denominator, which is 18, and we're going to reduce the first term to 15x, the second term to positive 4, and 3 times 18 is 54. Let's get the x by itself, subtract 4 from both sides, and bring everything down. Divide both sides by 15, and that will leave us with x equals 50 over 15. Right? Wrong. You've got to reduce it. Now 50 over 15 is correct, but you need to reduce it, and I will take off points if you don't reduce it. I won't mark your answer completely wrong, but I will take off points. There you go. Somebody wants to be an A student, so we have x equals 10 over 3. And let's try an equation now that's pretty much the same as this, only we're mixing integers and fractions again. Okay, in this problem we need to find an LCD, but before we do that, let's distribute this multiplier to both of the terms in the parentheses. Good, and turn 2 into a fraction. And our LCD is 4, so let's multiply everything times 4. Good, and once you've done that, stop. Once you've made something this messy, start looking for the minus signs again. We got one there, and we got one over here. And so those can slip away from you real quick. So make sure that we don't lose those. Now let's reduce everything. Good, we got rid of all of our denominators, and let's combine like terms. Now there's only one set of x's over here, one set of units. We have one x over here, and we have 2 units over here. Let's combine those. -6, and now we've combined all of our like terms. So let's move the x's over to the left-hand side. Since 3x is our biggest x, that will eliminate x on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side we have 2x. Let's bring everything else down. Let's isolate the variable by eliminating the units. And let me move out of the way a little bit, and we're going to move everything down. And let's move that 2x and -4 in a little bit closer. Good. And x has a coefficient of 2, so let's divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. -4 divided by 2 is -2. X equals -2, and that is our answer. Now, if it seems if I'm going a little bit faster now, I am. I'm going a lot faster now, because this is stuff that you really should know by now. And if you need more time, just pause the video and work through this with me. Don't just watch me do this, work through this with me. And to help you out even a little bit more, we got homework on page 46.